What's up, and welcome back to Abydos. Today we're going to be going on a tour of the Abydos Art Gallery. So this was a gallery that was made when the server was relatively new. It was actually one of the first buildings in this area, built I'd say maybe about 15 months ago. And it's meant to look kind of like a contemporary art piece in its own design. And it's got this kind of cubism abstract piece in the front, and so I'm not going to actually go through a tour of each piece by piece, but I'm going to give my opinions on certain select pieces, and I'll probably skip some of them because there's a lot to kind of go through. So I'll start with the first piece that you kind of see when you come up the stairs, Her Kiss by Tasha. So this is one of Tasha's oldest pieces. Now Tasha is one of the server's most prolific artists, where I've definitely done more map art. It can easily be said that she's done the most map art with the intent of being art. A lot of my map art is done for practical reasons, like the game boards or the cards or the message boards or things like that, computer monitors, things like that. So this was one of her first pieces, and at first it was a little bit confusing. Now, with the piece named Her Kiss, it originally wasn't named and it was on the board, so it confused people, and we were flipping it around, and then once people saw it, they were trying to discourage anybody else from seeing it by saying things like, oh, it's a pelican landing on a branch or whatever, and then just trying to... So it got a lot of debate, and it was the first sort of abstract-y kind of piece that was on the server. And here we have another older Tasha, and you can tell old Tasha because it has no signature on the piece. Her newer pieces have signatures, and a lot of her older pieces are one color, and now she does a lot more color. She still does the black and white stuff, but she does a lot more color pieces. So out of those two pieces, I'm not sure which is first, but they're both of the first pieces she did. Now, this was also an interesting one, and I quite enjoyed this piece. When I first saw this piece, I too was trying to figure out, what am I looking at? Now, again, when you're seeing it as a viewer paired with this person and the butterflies, it's very easy to tell that this is an arm. But with no context, this was actually quite hard to tell, is that was a hand and that was an elbow. And this kind of looked like some drippy kind of like smoke kind of or something, and it was very hard to tell. It kind of looked like an appendage, but it didn't really necessarily look like an arm. And you can tell this is old Tasha as well because you have no signature. So this was done quite a while before these two pieces, which she had done to complete this. Clearly, she was not happy with the original, or I don't know exactly why she decided to continue the series, but it eventually became a 3-map art monochrome series. So I don't know how many months apart it was, but several months. This is my only piece up here. This is the battle portrait commemorating the Battle of Medinet. So this was a battle that took place here in Abydos at the Black Pyramid, which was built during my reign when I ran a communist dictatorship. And this was a battle portrait that was painted commemorating that. So me cutting off the head of one of the players, Mizgils. This is an older piece, Feelings by Tasha. This one right here in the silence, I believe, don't quote me, but I believe this is actually her first signed piece. This is when she started signing her art in the silence. So this is kind of the changing point. Now this is an interesting piece too, because this is the very first time this blue was used. This is a blue that's only obtainable by using water on map art, and this was the very first time that we'd actually seen it being used in a piece. She decided to give it a go since nobody had really worked with it before, and created the eye for this piece. So it's kind of neat seeing the blue. And then here's an old mouth open wide. Kind of goes well with the mask. So now here, this is kind of going into the reproductions of famous masterworks. Me and Tasha did this together. This is Composition 2, Piet Mondrian. This is like my second piece I did. This is Persistence of Memory, really off-centered, so I had to try to justify it by putting text and stuff on the side. This is my very first piece I ever did. Well, not very first map art I ever did. I think this is the second one, because I helped with the campaign poster, and I would call that the first. So this one is my most recent one. This is one I was doing to experiment with doing two map arts together. This is the Annunciation by Leonardo da Vinci. The sign won't take text right now because there's a freaking bug, but anyway, I did it when he was 20, really old piece. This is my favorite piece of all time, the Milkmaid. Vermeer. I did it on a 3D map art kind of a template that we have, and it was about a week's worth of work because I'm not very good at doing the 3D stuff, and I'm really very happy with how it turned out. Here's another Vermeer, girl with the pearl earring, which I'd like to do a masterpiece version of as well, where I kind of do it on a 3D and have it go to the bottom and everything, but I still kind of like it. I'll probably never redo it, but Warhol, Hokusai, the Great Wave. These are the two Picassos we got. Tasha did one and I did the other one. And this is the black square. This was done after a conversation with Tasha where I was describing that I don't like some pieces, and this was one of the pieces that I was describing as kind of hard to kind of feel the artistic impression behind. So she ended up making this piece and then writing a book about it. I'll kind of go through it quickly, and you can kind of pause the video if you want to go through it. I'm not going to read it in the video, and then so I did my own black page, which is basically this black portrait that looks black when you walk by it, but when you come closer, you see a skull pop out. So here we have the comic book art. These were comic books that I did early map art days, actually. These were done 2020, so yeah, about 2 years ago, and then Batman was done like 6 months ago. Portraits of players, about 5 of them are gone. We have this player's gone, this player's gone, this player's gone, this player's gone. We have a couple more portraits, I think, since this too. The original campaign poster. So this was the very first map art ever. This ugly Vote for Blood where we didn't really have any rhyme or reason. It was me and Blood Honey with too much red wool writing the letters, and you can see it's madness. But this had so many copies made and was posted everywhere. It was plastered everywhere. Here we have the Kristoff zetterstrand paintings, but we're gonna have to go over these in depth at a different time because there's so much to unpack with these paintings. But here you can see this is a map art we did of Graham in King's Quest, and this is actually a game that Kristoff Zetterstrand played a lot of and took inspiration of. As you can see, Graham here makes an appearance here, and he also is the guy in this 1x2 painting. This is some Bedrock Map Art I did. It took me way too long because I screwed up which grays were supposed to be in which spot, and anyway, it took way too long. It took me about 2 days to do it, and then they ended up changing the texture of Bedrock like 2 months later. This is Panda's crazy banner room where she puts all her banners she makes. Thank you very much for coming on this tour with me. If you enjoyed it and you want to see more tours of places in Abydos, be sure to subscribe and like the video. Thanks for